Hello and welcome to my review of No Man's Sky Next. As you may already know, this game was originally released under the title No Man's Sky, which came out in 2016. It carried bold promises of an infinite, procedurally generated universe that mirrored the vastness of our own. After numerous setbacks and delays, No Man's Sky became the most anticipated game of the year, however, fell short on almost all of its revolutionary undertakings. Last month, Hello Games released No Man's Sky Next, which aims to combat the game's flaws and wide criticism with a huge patch and an almost complete rework. This patch addresses some of the most pressing issues such as multiplayer gameplay, the tedious and repetitive tasks, and the lack of content. With my previous experience with No Man's Sky, I thought that even though this rework sounded interesting, there was no way such a letdown could ever be salvaged. So let's start off at the beginning. When you load up the game, you're on a random planet. Your ship has crashed and needs repairs, and your character apparently has amnesia. This planet is the base tutorial in this game, and I have a lot of complaints. When I started my game, I spawned in a freezing planet. That means that my environmental protection would go down, and when it reaches 0, you start dying. So it took me about half an hour to even get to my ship, because I would just keep dying over and over again, and I had just started playing, so I had no idea what was going on. And the game doesn't tell you either. It has an absolutely terrible tutorial system where little pop-ups will appear on the bottom of your screen giving you hints as to what to do next. It also does this for things like recharge your life support with oxygen if you're on low health. These immediately relevant things override the normal tutorial things, so it took me ages to even figure out what I was supposed to do since I was constantly freezing to death and being told to recharge my environmental protection module, which I also had no idea how to do. This tutorial really ended up being a race against the clock to see if I could complete the next step and get an autosave before dying the next time. The game also seems to assume that you know certain things already, because it took me literally 30 minutes to figure out how to craft a steel plate. I had the materials and everything, I just had no clue how to actually make it. I had to read through half the in-game encyclopedia before I found out that you just press cross on an empty inventory slot. I'm not going to go over the rest of the tutorial, but it was just as bad and took me about an hour and a half in total. For reference, a couple friends played, and when they got normal planets that weren't negative 50 degrees all the time, they completed the tutorial in about 7 minutes. But let's talk about some of the major things they changed. First off, the space stations. The space stations in the release used to be tiny, with a couple small rooms. Now they're much bigger, with merchants and missions and so on. There is also a greater cause to talk to the aliens and a bigger focus on language, which was one of my criticisms of the game before. Occasionally, when talking to aliens, you have a choice to make, one that either helps you or hurts you. Making a good choice can be very valuable, and a bad one can lower your standing with the aliens. But back to the space station. It seems like there's a critical flaw in the economy system of the game, this being important because almost all goals the player sets are buying things with money. Starships and multi-tools each have a ranking system, D to A and then S, with D being the worst and S being the best. Each tier has a minor base stat boost, for example plus 2% mining speed, and any further upgrades are done with upgrade modules. Upgrade modules are single-use items that you can buy that give your multi-tool or starship a permanent upgrade. These also come in ranked D through S, and also get more expensive the better they get. When applied, these modules take up an inventory technology slot, so the best multi-tool would not only be S rank, but also have a large inventory. This is all well and good, however there's not really any purpose in upgrading it to a multi-tool that's C or B rank. It doesn't get that much better for just having a better rank, and I don't want to go all out with upgrades on a D rank multi-tool when it would be more efficient to just go straight from D to S. There is no boost in money making efficiency with a rank D to a rank C unless I spend money to make it better. Then I would still make money faster, but I would have to make twice as much money since I spent all of it upgrading the multi-tool I already have, making it less efficient overall. So during my playthrough, I went from a half-broken D-class multi-tool that I got for free straight to a massive A-class multi-tool that cost me close to 1,000,000 units. This problem is escalated by the fact that you buy upgrade modules with nanite clusters, not normal units. Nanite clusters are much harder to get than units, so I only want to spend them if I'm absolutely sure it'll be worth it. And when I have to spend 500 of my 3,000 nanites to upgrade the mining beam of my D-class multi-tool, there's no way that's realistic. This upgrade system just makes the game unfun, and it's the same for starships. There's no sense of accomplishment for getting an S rank, because you grinded straight to it instead of climbing up the upgrade ladder. It's even more annoying because starship and multi-tool upgrades are really the only things to buy in the game. This problem is similar to a lot of others in the game. It has a lot of potential to be a fun mechanic, but isn't quite there yet. A simple fix to this would be to make every rank of multi-tool noticeably better than the one before it, and much more expensive. This way, it would be more efficient to go through all the ranks instead of just skipping to the top. However, I should also mention the positives of the economy and money system changes from launch to now. The way you make money in the game has changed drastically. The mining beam is no longer able to mine more hardened minerals or major mineral deposits, which makes getting an advanced mining beam and terrain manipulator a good starting goal. Valuable resources have also changed a lot as well. In the launch version, if you were lucky, you could find a planet filled with extremely valuable resources, but now they only spawn in small patches and are guarded by sentinels. I see this as a positive change because instead of filling your inventory and selling over and over again, you have to actually create a plan and take risks to get the reward. There's also the addition of farming with both plants and animals, and freighters which you can win or buy that can go on trade missions for you. In addition to this, there's also a system economy, where each system has a certain demand for each item, making it beneficial to buy or sell different things in different places. Overall, without the flaws mentioned before, the money system of No Man's Sky is much better. It now creates more ways to get money, which partially eliminates the downfall of the launch, which was endless tedious mining. The next thing I wanted to talk about was the aliens and interacting with them, with such things as missions, languages, and standing. This is also another thing in the game that is so close but so far from being good. For those who haven't played, there are 3 races of aliens in No Man's Sky: Gek, Korvax, and Viking. Any system you enter will have a dominant race, and that race of alien will be the one you find in it. The most drastic change with them is the dialogue. In launch, when a player talked to an alien, it was usually rather pointless and you didn't really get anything out of it. Now there are more dialogue options and variants allowing you to trade, ask for dialect help, or ask for directions to a place of interest. There are also certain aliens that have irregular dialogue. For example, trying to sell you black market goods or giving you something for doing them a favor. There's also the added feature of standing, or how much each race likes you. Helping them with such things as favors or defeating pirates will increase your standing, and refusing help or destroying friendly starships will decrease it. I think this is a good idea in the game, but it ultimately doesn't have very much use. The only time I've ever seen standing used is the ability to report black market sellers for a small reward of a couple thousand units and more standing. Standing also gives you the opportunity to take on more valuable missions, however they are still obsoleted by mining, so it doesn't really matter too much. It would be nice to see this go somewhere further, and for now it just seems like a half-finished concept. Next is the learning of language. There are only 2 ways to do it, which is either asking an alien you haven't met yet, or finding a knowledge stone on a planet. This hasn't really changed much, and it was one of the things in the launch game that I didn't think was that bad. I do think, however, that a lot more value has been put into the language system. When talking to aliens, it is often a guess as to what dialogue option to pick, which can often lead to bad results. With more language learned, it is much easier to pick the best options, and knowledge stones are now one of the things I look out for when exploring. I think they did a great job with it. One thing I was hoping for from Next was more backstory, and while they did add more story in general, there's still a lack of it in terms of what's going on in the present. I think it would be a welcome change and make the game much more immersive to see some personality from the aliens or just some questions answered. Like, where did the space stations come from? Is there some sort of government? Why is there one dominant race to each system? It just seems very lacking in this area, and I would have liked to see some sort of Star Wars type backstory with a government and such. For now, the game just seems a bit empty and lacking personality, and this feature is another that seems to be half finished. A big question that has remained unanswered is who or what are the Sentinels and why do they attack you? We know that the Sentinels must be coming from some sort of government, since if you kill one and start flying, system authority starships come after you. There's also a sense that the aliens don't like the Sentinels. In one dialogue I had with a Viking, it asked me to choose between a Sentinel and itself. I chose itself and my standing went up. Do the Viking not like the government? Is there some sort of tyrannical system going on? There's obviously some sort of loss system because when talking to a black market trader, they won't accept credits because they are, quote, traceable. And when setting up a base computer, it cross-references land claims in a mentioned database. There can't be a universal government since when warping to another system while wanted, system authority doesn't follow you. It just seems very half-baked and annoyingly incomplete. Without a backstory like this, it just seems very empty. A major feature introduced with No Man's Sky is the ability to build bases. The player can choose between a variety of walls, doors, windows, etc. to create something of their own and have it saved and uploaded. Base components are built with harvestable materials, and aliens can be recruited to help out and often give missions. I think this is an amazing addition to the game and a large step in the right direction. The game overall is much better in multiplayer, and building bases is really fun. In a lot of ways, this game reminds me of Minecraft in terms of free roam and sandbox building, and the draw of this game is also very similar, and I'll use it to explain my next point. I've played Minecraft off and on for some years now, and the draw to players in survival is that there's always something else to do and more steps you need to accomplish. The player sets his or her own goals and reaches them however they want. I frequently forget what I was going to do in these games because I have so many steps I'm going over in my head. No Man's Sky has a remarkably similar feel to it, however I have to say that Minecraft did it better, and ultimately this is the downfall of the game in my opinion. No Man's Sky just fails to make this process fun, and while in Minecraft I look forward to the next step, I don't in No Man's Sky. It's ultimately grinding that kills the game for me. It's just not fun. An aspect of building a base that I haven't talked about is blueprints. You have to research blueprints with salvage technology modules which are randomly placed on planets underground. I've probably looked for these for a total of 6 hours and still haven't unlocked even a quarter of everything. And it's the same with units. You can earn units on the side as you do other things, but the fastest way to get units that I've found is again tedious mining. Through trying different things, I've come to the conclusion that grinding ionized cobalt is the most efficient way to make money at about 1.5 million units per hour. As soon as No Man's Sky overcomes this grinding issue, it would be an amazing game. It should be noted, however, that grinding goes down somewhat later in the game, but does not compensate it for being so necessary in the beginning. In conclusion, I would not recommend buying this game in the state it's in, unless you have friends to play with, as these stats are just for me. No Man's Sky Next is very close to being an amazing game. The concept is still great and there are still fun aspects to it, but it just seems like it's not quite there. That being said, it's definitely a game to watch out for in the future, because if Hello Games keeps going at this rate, they'll have a AAA game on their hands in about a year. I do have to say though, mad props to them. No Man's Sky was such a terrible disappointment that I had no doubt they would give up, but they kept going and I respect that. For now, it's mediocre, but I sincerely think it can and will be so much more. I have rather focused on the negatives so far in this review, and I do have to say that the game is a million times better than it was, and I can't stress that enough. There are a lot of good changes that were made, such as freighters, story, and overseers. However, due to my opinion of the game as a whole, I have decided to format this review with reasons why that's the case, predominantly negative. Anyways, I hope this review has been informative, and thank you for watching. I haven't completed the story of this game as I'm writing this, so a few things might be a little bit off. If you'd like to correct me or just want to give your opinion, leave a comment. I do read all the comments I get, and I'll be replying as soon as I can. I really do appreciate you watching this video and leaving a comment. It's really interesting to see what people think of my videos since I'm still kind of new to this. Who knows, it might be a thing on my channel that I review games. It's been pretty fun for this game, so maybe I'll do it again. If you have any suggestions or anything, I'll be excited to hear them, but thanks for watching.